Who's gonna let you go this tour?
You're standing here talking. I guess I don't need to give introduction. I actually have a slide that is for that.
Oh, here, you might want that.
I might want that. I never get these things to work, so this will be.
We tested it. That doesn't mean it worked.
All right. Well, hello and welcome to this session on how I used AI in planning the IT Support Symposium. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Ellen Shopnick. I have worked at the School of Ed for 10 years now. I was at DeWitt for a couple of years before that. I manage 8 computer labs and 3 full-time IT AV staff. I was like, did I just say IVAT? I did. I said it right. Whew. I have always been very tech curious and like kind of an early adopter, which is sort of what brings me to giving this presentation today. I think my next slide is about AI, so I'll pause on that story. But my dad got his master's degree in computer science in the 70s. And he worked on state mainframes and later databases throughout his career. So I've just always been around technology and had it explained to me and shown how to use it, and just found myself very adapted, like picking it up and figuring it out, which is how I came to play with AV. But then AI, it's all going to be acronyms, AI, but we'll learn about that in a minute. I am another interesting fun fact about me is I am a lifetime Girl Scout member. I am a troop leader of 2 different troops. I also do cookies for both those troops. And this year I am a member of the National Board, I think is the technical term for it. So I'm going to go to the Girl Scout National Council session in DC in July, where I'll be representing along with 4 other folks of Badgerland Council that we are a part of here. So that's pretty exciting. I've been learning a lot about Girl Scout governance, which is all new to me, but interesting to be learning. My previous careers were in nonprofit administration. Not surprisingly, Girl Scouts. I worked there first like reception at the front desk, and later I was coordinating their volunteer program. And then after Girl Scouts, I left to run my own childcare when my older daughter was born. So that was a fun side career. So I've had different careers is the point of this. And then I have the 2 daughters and my husband who also works in IT for the School of Ed. He specifically does user support in kinesiology and is not attending the conference today, so I can say whatever I want about him. I do have a slide on AI. If you have not heard about the IT Support Symposium, I wanted to make sure we were kind of level set there. So the IT Support Symposium is an intentional outcomes-based event that's built around conversation. The idea came together from discussions with people in my MORE program, with folks from IT Connects, from my attendance at SAIX, which is a national conference for folks in computing at college campuses across the United States. My brain's just like, I've forgotten words. And at those conferences, at those SIGEX conferences, I would sit at a table with someone from somewhere very different, and we would have so many things in common because we worked on similar problems, even though we were at different universities or colleges. And I thought, well, this campus is kind of just like a collection of different universities and colleges, and we could all get together and have the same kind of conversation. So that's kind of been where the idea for the IT Support Symposium came from. It's been held twice so far, in April of 25 and April of 26. And it's a day of conversation where we connect folks in the IT support ecosystem, so maybe managers as well as people who interface with IT support, and then the IT support folks themselves. I have a fantastic team of folks that help me plan it, like Sarah here. Thank you for attending, Sarah. And we run the event. We also train some facilitators that run our facilitated discussions. This year, our facilitated discussion topics included trust, making work visible, and building better documentation. On the AI side, like I said, I'm a bit of an early adopter. My sister, who was always like, she's kind of like a futurist, was kind of like, you really need to pay attention to AI in 23, and so I did. I kind of consider what I do with it playing more than anything else. I'm just like curious, what can I do, what can I not do? Some of my early conversations, my very first conversations were around like AI ethics, like sometimes it would be like, well, I'm AI, I can't tell you what ethics are. And I was like, okay, well, you're an ethics professor, now tell me what you think about AI ethics. And it's like, oh, sure, here you go. So it's just kind of interesting, like learning where it'll go and where it can go and what you have to say to get it to say what you want to. I was thinking about that today in the keynote when he was talking about the adversarial side. It's kind of like that in the conversation, like it maybe doesn't want to say the thing I want it to, and I just have to figure out like what is it that I have to say to get it to say what I want it to. I have not used it for coding, and I haven't used AI embedded in other things or connected other accounts, so I haven't, it keeps telling me to connect my Google accounts, I'm not interested in that. I know Claude will connect to all your services and run your life, and I'm not interested in that. I really just use the chatbot piece of AI, which is I think a little different than some people's use of AI, which is why I'm doing this, so I can tell you about what I do. I've learned over time that my preference is for Claude specifically. I have used ChatGPT plenty. I use Copilot at work because I'm at work, and I've played with Gemini a little bit. I find Gemini kind of like out there in its the way that it interacts. I kind of like Claude's maybe personality, if that's the right word, directness. I've also found that I consider it like a blank slate where it doesn't have your history. You can turn it on in Claude. I have not. I do have it turned on in ChatGPT, and for a while I was like, yeah, this is okay. It's like building a concept of me, and like it can tell me things that maybe it couldn't before. But at a certain point, I was like, I don't like this anymore. I'm not comfortable with this. And also, when it's a blank slate, you know that it's not something that you've kind of trained it to do. You know that it's more of a coming from a baseline as opposed to coming from where you telling you what you want to hear. They're all a little bit of a yes man, right? They're all a little bit gonna tell you what you want to hear. But I find with the blank slate, it's at least it's telling me what it thinks I want to hear, not exactly what I want to hear because I've told it before. So I have a question for the room here. How did you first become curious about LLMs, and what were some of your first experiences? When you were starting, did you start with something like write me an email, or did you start with hello? And Elizabeth has the microphone.
I started with family meal planning, where the kids say, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. So we said, okay, create me 30 days of recipes of stuff I can make that the kids would like. And the kids would look and say, I don't like that. They said, we don't like this, we don't like that. And so we used for a little bit. It only worked for 2 months and we're done.
Perfect, yeah.
Well, I'll just add to that, I did take everything that's in my fridge currently and tell me what I can make, so I can use that before it goes bad.
That's a good one.
I would say that I went with the, can you make this email sound better?
Yeah. Smart guy here.
Went the much more, I have a technical problem I need you to fix. We had an old AV config file that we needed something to convert it so that we could figure out how to control the lights in a conference room. And no one, the company that wrote it didn't exist anymore, so no one knew the info. It was able to read through the old config, knew the old programming language, and gave us the config we needed to be able to program our lights on a new system.
Excellent. I've used it for we have a very old ticketing system, and I've used it to write, figure out the ticketing language for me.
We got one from the chat.
Perfect.
Ryan Wilkinson said, I was tricked into receiving Gemini responses to Google searches.
Unwilling AI recipient. All right, so for the next portion, we're gonna play a game. What did I use AI for in planning? So I went back through my Claude conversations from last year, from this year, and I found that I did not have Claude review it. This is a place where I did not use AI. I did it myself. Looked back over the past conversations and found places where I used AI and places where I didn't. So I'm gonna show a thing, and then the audience is gonna guess if I did or didn't use AI. Should we get a thumbs up, thumbs down for didn't, thumbs up for did? Or do you want to shout? I don't know. Well, let's do thumbs up, thumbs down. All right, so here we go. First one, writing the facilitators packet. Thumbs up. I did do that. And I should have pulled this out of my bag before. I'm just remembering now. I brought the examples of last year's facilitators packet and this year's facilitators packet. So you can see the difference. This one is the 2025 facilitators packet. And this one is the 2026 facilitators packet. I'll pass those around if you want to take a look. I did review them both before I handed them to the facilitators, part of the keep a human in the loop piece. I didn't just blindly grab it and hand it to them. One of the interesting pieces about writing this year's facilitators packet is when it first, oh, I lost the clicker. The first thing it gave me, I was like, oh no, this is not at all what I'm looking for. And I was able to say, like, can we bring in some design thinking principles and some appreciative inquiry concepts? And then it rewrote it and I was like, oh, this is so much better. I hear the facilitators gave me really positive feedback on the packets this year. So this was indeed something that AI wrote, but it did use my own input into creating them. All right, meeting agendas. Thumbs up to AI do it or thumbs down to Ella do it? I see a pretty good mix. This one, Ella did. I made the meeting agendas. Sarah's like, I know the answer. Yeah, this is a piece that I've kept for myself. I think that meeting agendas, I mean, AI can definitely do it. It could be a human in loop piece, but to me, it's how we think through things and how we discuss things as a group. And to me, that's important to control on my own. Writing my opening speech. Thumbs up, Ella. AI did it. Thumbs down, Ella did it. Let's see. All right. This is Ella did it. I wrote my own opening speech. I did not have AI write it. I did have AI read it, and I was like, do not give me feedback. I just need you to pump me up on this. Yes. But I think it went pretty well. I don't know if anyone heard me, but I thought I did all right. Next up, writing questions for the icebreakers and World Cafe. Thumbs up for AI, thumbs down for Ella. Yes, we got this one as a room here. AI did write the questions. What about choosing the questions for icebreakers and World Cafe? Did AI do it or did Ella do it? Yeah, Ella did it. Ella and the group. We, as my team, did this one together. I brought the questions. I think even more than just me brought suggestions. Jose also had AI write some suggestions, and we kind of brought them in and reviewed them and made a choice. This was, keeping the human in the loop. It can write questions all day, but you can look at the questions and say, this is the conversations that people should be having and make that final choice. All right, and now a question for you, kind of based on this piece. We'll keep playing, but this is just a pause. When you find yourself thinking I should use AI, is it things you've tried before and feel comfortable with, or is it scaffolded off past ideas or trying new things? When you use AI, is it things you've already done, or is it new things? So it's gonna be there. Make her run around the room.
I would say it's more new things, just because I don't use it that often. And I don't think about it, even at this moment, I don't think about it, but, I guess. Emails have been the one spot I go to, especially if it's something like we said before, where make this sound better.
Yeah.
Or if it's going out to a bigger group.
Sure.
It's important to make sure it sounds better, but as we all know, you do have to proofread that, because I found myself it's saying things that I didn't want to say.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's a combination for myself. If it's things that I've tried before, it's because I'm trying to iterate or improve. I feel like it's a way of either feeding it something and, you know, asking it to iterate again, like kind of flesh things out. When I'm doing something new, something that I've been doing more recently is asking it to interview me. Like, I want to do this. Ask me any question you have to make sure that you get it right. And it's really amazing how much it turns into a conversation. You almost feel like it's another human in the loop, right?
Sure.
And I do find that gets it closer to something that I might actually use compared to a framework or a starting point.
Cool, cool.
Yeah, I'll add that I mostly probably use it for things I feel comfortable with. I use it to write code sometimes, but I can review that and I can understand what it's doing. I'm not having it do things for me that are either too large scale to review or would be complex to review at a large scale. Or like if it does it in a language I don't want, I'm gonna switch to something that I feel confident with. Because kind of like this one, I don't trust it, you know?
Yep, I agree. When I use it, I like to be able to use my own critical thinking on its output, and is why that I don't use it for coding, because I don't have a background in it, and if it spits something out, I would be like, sure, but I don't, I'm nervous. Looks like we got another one.
Well, just to add on to that, as a sysadmin, you know, we often have to use a lot of scripts in our work, and I've always been the kind of person who I've always been horrible at writing scripts from scratch. I'm really good at reverse engineering them when I get them, and AI stepping in has really sort of bumped that up for me. It's really easy for me to go to Gemini now and say, I need PowerShell that will do this. And it will spit something out, and then from there, I can actually go back through that and I can validate that before I even try to run. So it's actually taken a lot of time, given me a lot of time back.
Awesome. Maybe one more of you.
I kind of use it for both things I've done before and sometimes new stuff that when I'm playing around with something like Power Automate and stuff like that, because if I'm doing anything with Microsoft, I figure Copilot should know some instructions. And it's also just time saving for me, like when I'm doing instructions for someone, especially like how to load something to their cell phone, I just do screenshots and then feed them in. And it's like, can you write me instructions? And it gives me a whole document that then I just edit and I can send it off.
Perfect.
Yeah, it makes it faster, that's all.
Awesome. All right, next round. Analyzing feedback survey results. Thumbs up for AI, thumbs down for Ella. Yeah, the thumbs up one. This is the one that the AI did. I mean, I looked through them and got my own feelings, but what I have the AI do is kind of tell me what I don't see in it, or like help me find what the bigger themes in it are, and then I can use my own thoughts and think like, oh yeah, I do see that in there, or I didn't notice that before and now I see it, or I don't think it's right. It's always good to use your critical thinking when you're using a new tool. Ooh, rethinking event format. I will give a specific on this, which was to help just make the decision. We had a panel in our first year and we didn't have a panel in our second year. And so this was around the choice of what are we gonna do instead of a panel? So thumbs up for AI, thumbs down for Ella. Oh, I did it backwards then. No, that's what I've been doing. Thumbs up for AI, thumbs down for Ella. All right, so this one interestingly was actually AI. It was a conversation that we had. I kind of described the background of the event and why we did the event and what we wanted to get out of the event. And the AI recommended lengthening the breaks so that people could have more casual networking time, that like unplanned discussion, as well as some downtime if it was needed, because the event is very conversation heavy, and if they're talking the whole time, they maybe don't have that minute. And since they're all IT support people, it gives them a couple minutes to check their tickets, because they're gonna do that anyway. So that one was actually AI. I don't think I would have come up with that on my own. We had also recommended lengthening the first discussion session, which we did do. Choosing the event schedule, thumbs up for AI, thumbs down for Ella. That is right. I did choose that. Everyone on my committee wrote out an event schedule. We spent so long trying to pick the schedule, we probably picked it too late. But in the end, I was like, all right, this is it. We're going with the longer breaks. All right, next audience question. When AI produces a different result than you expected, what do you do next? Argue, try and figure out why, revise your instructions, log out?
I have a conversation with it like a person and just talk right back to it.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is questions?
Yeah, that's a good route. I do that very frequently. Like, what do you need? Can you explain that to me? I saw a couple more hands over this way.
I guess when a different result than I've expected every time, like, I would say that it's a case where it's, I know it's wrong, so I'm like, you're wrong, this is, and then I give it additional context of why I know it's right. And it depends on whether I can get it.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes I'll argue, or I won't necessarily argue, but go back and forth with like, what do you mean? And I don't know, it hits this point where I just feel like it's become useless. Like there's another reason I like the blank slate, because if it hits that like, oh, this has become useless, I'll just throw it away and start a new one. Now, if AI is conscious, we don't want to talk about what that means, but we don't need to have, that's not this discussion. Definitely not this discussion. All right, writing emails to participants, thumbs up for AI, thumbs down for Ella. I had AI, right? You know what, I would actually say this one this year was maybe 50-50. I think last year I don't know, actually maybe both years it was 50-50. Sometimes I would have the AI do it, sometimes I would do it, sometimes I'd have the AI review it. Sometimes I would send it and be like, oops, I should have had AI review it. Next up, creating name tag stickers with discussion choices. We have our facilitated discussion options and people put their options on their name tags. What do we think? Thumbs up for AI, thumbs down for Ella. Ooh, this was a thumbs up. I had AI do this year. I told it what I wanted on the tags and I gave it the model of Avery stickers that I had. The first time we used the wrong Avery model, and so I went back and was like, no, I'll try this model again, like actually use the right model. And it did it successfully, and it saved me so much time. As someone who had worked in reception work and made plenty of stickers and mail merges and all that, this was incredibly fast once it figured out the right format. And that was the last one of our game. So I was, after looking through these, I kind of thought, when did I use AI versus when didn't I? So I did use it as a thought partner. I did use it for some of those tedious tasks, like making those name tag stickers. And then I did use it for the in-depth analysis of the feedback results. I didn't use it for final choices. Like I said, I made the schedule decision on my own. And the question decisions with the team, the personal touches, so the speech that I wrote and my agendas. And then those are the places that I did and didn't use it. And so the questions that I've been thinking on since putting this together are there times I used AI when I shouldn't have? And what are the things that I want to retain as a human? Because I've kind of just been going forward and using AI or not using AI and not necessarily thinking about it intentionally. I don't have another official question slide, but we could maybe as a group, if we have a few minutes left, what are some things that you would want to retain for yourself? Like, what are some things you wouldn't give to AI? Is maybe the question. What would you not let AI do?
More personal emails. I'll use it for like bulk sendings if I'm sending it or needing a form template, but not if I'm sending it to like one of our student workers or to a coworker that I know. I won't use it for that.
Sure. I
always find myself when I'm stuck because I have something really hard to think through, I will throw it in AI and then I always look at it and I'm like, no, I need to do this myself because while the output of analysis maybe looks nice, I realize that you need to actually do the thinking in order to like actually, have the analysis that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool, that is the presentation. We do have a couple minutes if there's any questions. But
I don't really have a question, I just have a comment. I went to that synopsis and it was great. And I'll tell you, I didn't want to say this all the time, but I'm forgetting. The first part of that where we were seated at the table, our first discussion, that was genius. I don't know. It was cool because the old technology and we got to talk about it. I thought, and hey, I was right, I think, when they said give that longer. Based on what you did there.
Yeah.
That was a great piece of work. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, we have one back here. All the way in the back. Elizabeth's getting her steps in today.
I missed most of this, I apologize, I went to a different AI thing, which was about something else. And so I don't know if this applies, but something I try to keep in mind and trying to avoid is asking a question of AI that with a leading question, because it's so agreeable. It's always telling me how smart I am and how genius that idea was and so on. It's just baloney, right? It doesn't know me. So yeah, I found that people tell me things that are not true, just to leave me at.
Yep. We did talk about that a little bit early on.
I also find it's bad at math.
Yeah, there are definitely some things it's not for.
With at least a couple of the things I've worked on too, I found it made me think about doing things the right way earlier. So when I used it for some of the coding things, if you just wanted to test something simple, you might have just dropped an API key into your code. I now know I want to be able to ask eventually later, so I'm making sure I do my security things immediately from the beginning, so I don't accidentally give AI something I shouldn't have.
All right, well, we're at time, so thank you everybody for attending.